Shirt show. All right, let's go. Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! All right, episode 1 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Jonathan from Success Print Shop down in Texas. Let's go! All right, Shirt Show!
What's up, Big Sexy?
Didn't you test your audio? Can you hear us? Hold up the number. Hold up your middle finger. He can't. He obviously can't.
No, hear me?
Yeah,
we got
you
you now.
Dang, y'all been chilling there for a little bit?
Yeah, we've been on for a couple hours.
Nah.
Waiting on you. What the hell?
You're late.
Oh, okay, here we go.
What time is it in Texas?
We're pushing 8 p.m. What about you?
So it's the same for you, right?
Me? Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang, Andy got a fancy mic.
Oh, yeah, check this thing out. What is it? A Shure or something like that?
He wanted to show everybody up. That's what he did.
I know, like, let's redo this thing. I didn't know we had to bring the mic in. I was just kidding.
But it's sunny there, too. What the hell? Why do you guys get all this sunshine and I get fucking darkness?
Bro, it was 104 today, 102, I think.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I think we just hit 70 or like 72 or something.
That's so awesome.
And it's supposed to be 40 and rain tomorrow.
You are not drinking coffee right now, are you?
Decaf.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Why do people even drink decaf, honestly?
Because right now, no, dude, people freaking hate decaf, and it's crazy. But like right now, if you want coffee right before bed, like you're not gonna drink coffee.
Yeah, but you drink coffee to have caffeine.
You don't like the flavor that much, so you got to drink. You have to drink it right now. Like, wouldn't it be better? Look at that water behind you right there. You got like 5 gallons of water.
That's for the coffee maker.
That's even better.
It's like dessert after dinner and lunch. It's a sweet because I got creamer in it. So it's like eating a dessert, like a cookie or something after. I don't feel like I need to explain my coffee habits.
So what's going on, man?
No, nothing much. Just getting the little work that's trickling in, just knocking that out.
Are you doing a bunch of like stores and stuff?
Yeah, I did some like initially, like when everybody was kind of doing it, but like I haven't pushed it again or reached out. So it was just like that initial, like 2 weeks of stores that I did, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. Did you get like a push the last like 2 weeks? I feel like me and Andy both got like a nudge of orders.
Yeah. I was gonna say like this, not past 2 weeks, but this week, like specifically, I definitely saw some movement coming along. So that was real nice.
Yeah. I feel like tomorrow I'm going to ask all the staff that was at home, I'm going to ask them if they want to come in.
That's good.
If they're willing to not stay home and get paid to do nothing.
I don't even know how many guys you normally have. Do you have like 5 or something?
7.
Okay. Thanks. So you had a pretty good crew. Yeah.
We have an unnecessary amount of crew. I don't like to have.
That's kind of how I feel. I kind of feel like that with me. Like I did like my full-time guy go, and it was like a huge, like, I realized how much like cash was like I was giving out like every month. So it was like
that was
huge,
that full-time guy you just talked
one
about?
Full-time, yeah.
Was that your first full-time that you've ever had?
Yeah, it was.
And how long was he there for? How long has he been there since?
This June would have been 1 year, so he was there for a little bit.
What was his role?
Oh, dude, he was like production, everything, like printing everything. I had him doing separations. He was doing screens, mixing ink, all the printing, except none of the bagging and tagging. Like I hired my sister, and she does that still.
So what were you doing? Like, you were doing nothing, pretty much?
Yeah, no, I was like on top of my game with my emails.
He was sitting back drinking decaf.
No, I was staying on top of my emails for the first time in 3 years.
Dude, that's the best feeling, honestly. Like that happened for me like 2 years ago, where I finally got to the point where I could feel comfortable like passing off all my emails to somebody, like hiring somebody.
Man.
As soon as I did that, I was like, holy shit, why didn't I not do this way sooner?
Dude, I was already getting to that point too. I was like, I don't want to freaking, I mean, it's not like, I don't know, it's just, I do a lot of the artwork too, so I need to pass that off too. I'll do all the artwork.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like here lately, like this whole like all these previous years, I was always like knocking out artwork and I enjoyed doing it. But like here lately, it was kind of like, it was just like, they're just taking so long. And I also felt like ever since I was in high school and I would go to Subway to get a sandwich and I would see somebody we'd ask tell them what you want and they're just doing it. They're doing it. I always felt bad for those people. They're just getting like told all day, like what to do. I kind of feel like I was like that with the artwork. It started becoming like, well, can't change this, can't do that. And it was like, man, you pass this off. And it wasn't like out of a bad place. It was just a lot, taking up all my time. It felt like.
Yeah. Is a lot of the artwork kind of like doable but simpler? You know what I mean? Like if somebody comes in.
Yeah, no, it's all. Yeah, it's never like you guys knock out some serious nice stuff, and it's never nothing like that. It's always like very doable. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's one thing that I did a little while ago was we were trying to handle that stuff. Like somebody would call and say they were a plumber or whatever, and they would say like, oh, I would need a new logo. I want like wrenches crossed with my name and like all that stuff. And I always used to be like, oh, we could do that in like, 45 minutes or whatever, knock that out. But then you think about how many of those you do a day and how they add up. And then basically like I got so many of those at one point and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start looking for like artists that I actually talk to and know. I'm going to ask them like, hey, what's your like rate if I give you, say I give you like 10 designs a week or like 20 designs a week, what would your rate be? Mm-hmm. And then they gave me an awesome rate. So basically I just started charging the customer that rate. And then again, it's the same thing. Like you said, when you hire somebody to do emails, it was like that whole weight got lifted again. And I was like, dude, I have so much more time to like put into things that I really want to do versus
did they promise some sort of turnaround? So they get it back to 24 hours or how does that work?
It's basically like 24 hours. So if I give it to him in the business day, he's usually like, hey, I'll have this for you tomorrow, or I'll have this to you the next day, which is still 2 days is still super fast for a customer getting custom artwork. So you get the art back from them and then you email a proof to the customer, or do they communicate with the customer? No, I communicate with the customer. But the thing is too, is I'll tell him like, hey, here's the customer idea. And he usually gives me like 2 to 3 options that are like somewhat similar, but a little bit different to where the customer can like be like, I like the text in option A, but I like the design in B. And then I just forward that back to him. And then literally like a couple hours later, he gives me like the final one. And then I send it to them and they're like, hey, that's awesome.
Well, what happens if there's 4 or 5, back and forth?
Then I tell the customer like, hey, after like, 2, maybe 3 revisions, there's going to be another fee. And then a lot of times the designer doesn't even ask because I feel like doesn't want to. I mean, honestly, he probably feels like he doesn't want to say anything and like not get to work anymore. But I usually just pass it on to him anyway. I'll be like, hey, I charge them more for this because like I feel bad. Basically, you got like 10 revisions on this, rooftop design or whatever it is. But yeah, it's been huge for me. Like I don't have any design staff like I've always done some stuff. Like Brian, who does our steps, has always done stuff. Like if we feel like doing it, if it's a customer, we're like, I want to do this, I want to take this on, we'll do it. But if it's just like the day to day, like, somebody has a reunion or something and wants a design, it's just so much easier for me to freelance it out. Because then there's no payroll, there's no nothing. It's like if they pay for the design, it's out the door and done and paid. So, But Andy, what's your take on that? Because you have a bunch of designers on staff.
Yeah, I never thought it was possible to do something like that with our setup. How we're such a custom shop. Somebody walks in, the front. I guess we onboard orders 3 different ways: phone call, email, or somebody's at our front counter. Mm-hmm. And we take like a work order, we take notes, and then we put it up in Monday. Well, I always thought having the designers there, for us anyway, is how we run it. I guess it's more complicated than that because they approve every job. So let's say you're the artist. What happened is when we do a test print, we put it down the dryer. Well, then quality control, they come grab you and you come look at that art, because you're familiar with that art. What you designed, if it's missing a color, if it's something didn't output right or whatever. And so you detail that. Yeah, there's little details that how are we going to know how to proof it? And so
right, and it's a lot of times too. The customer will be like, "Hey, just so you know, I really like this one color to pop like this. And it's like that designer is going to be the only person
exactly
that would know that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And the last, and even like with colors. So if somebody accidentally puts royal blue instead of whatever peacock or who knows what, the designer is going to notice that. And so they do the test proof, and then they ask for a final, and then the final is like placement and other details, like just like you just said. Sometimes the customer says, "Oh, I want it 2 inches down," or "I want it this or that," and we have notes in there.
Right.
But they actually they're the last person to see that, and they are very familiar with that job. And so when a designer is not there and it has to go hand off to somebody else, another designer, and they take over that job, everybody gets kind of nervous because they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know every single detail, but I'm going to look it over anyway." So how do you, I guess my question would be is, let's say we do farm out some of that kind of stuff. How would we go through that proofing process? And how do you
we do kind of some basically the same thing you do, but it's this actual salesperson, not the designer. So the salesperson, like I said, I don't take the customer and forward them to the designer. The designer, like the customer goes through me first before it hits the designer. So I'm getting all the same notes. Like if the customer is like, "Oh, I really want this to be, my truck is this specific color and I want this to be this color." Like I have those notes. I've heard it in my mind to know that that's what they were looking for. So then when I get the art back, it could be the same thing as like if I personally did the art, because I know all the details. I know what it looks like. So it's the same thing. Like basically whenever the printer, say there's like 4 of us in the office or whatever, whenever the printer comes in the door, he kind of finds out like whose job this is. And then he goes to that person and says, "Okay, you proof this." So that person pulls up the mock-up, pulls up the notes and says, "Okay, yeah, this. Oh yeah, the customer was specific about this color or this placement." And they're like, "Okay." And then they go out and print the job. So I feel like it's the same thing. It's just, you're kind of the middleman in the information. So.
Yeah, I think that
sounds like
sometimes.
Notes would be super important. You got to have like you said, like all the notes in the work order. As long as
so how do you run it? Like, so if you're the artist, you said most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I see all the test prints too. So I mean, I know, like you said, all the details that the customer's talking about. Like I'm gonna know them. So, but yeah, like scaling up, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I'll be like in Dylan's shoes after a while, but eventually you'll get to your size crew, and I guess you would probably maybe have to have an artist, because I mean, unless Dylan or me is always going to be there to like check the tests, it's kind of, so I guess it's kind of like a scale thing, like start off here, maybe get to Dylan stage, get to Andy stage.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's tough, because like Dylan said, I guess it could be the salesperson, they're familiar with those details too, but there's got to be somebody in the shop at least. And I don't know that ours is a better way to do it. It's just the way that we chose to do it long ago, because we would fuck up an order and be like, "Oh shit, how do we prevent that in the future?" We kind of huddle up and say, "What went wrong here? How was this inevitable, or could we have caught it? And was it negligence? Where did it, what happened?" And so we determined that we like 4 people to see that proof before we say go. And that's the press operator, press assistant, quality control, and the graphic artist, because
so
they
all in by the time it comes out.
Well, usually it still happens, but it's pretty accurate. And ultimately, we're going to replace the shirt. Like if something goes wrong,
right?
Even if we sent out a proof and they approved it and it was wrong, we're going to fix it. And so we just want to reduce that amount as much as possible, because it's no fun printing fixed orders. That's for sure. But I think, I don't know, I like the idea of sometimes a salesperson, because they're also familiar with a ton of details, like Dylan mentioned. That's good. That's good.
I think like your method though of having designers is something like, I don't know if I need 5 of them, but like I would like to have one serious one that's, paid really well on staff for just any kind of change or anything design wise. Cause like we might even get art that's from a customer that is, 98% of the way there, but the file isn't as big as it should be. And there's like a couple lines that could be like cleared up or made nicer or whatever. It'd be nice to have a skilled designer on staff to like make those fixes.
So you can do it real quick. Yeah.
Right, real quick. So like now with my method, the downside is I need to email to that person and hope that they're on their A game like they normally are, but they could be sick or they could, just be like, fuck you, I don't feel like doing it today.
Does that ever hold up your presses or an order?
No, not really. Cause like, I feel like it's so early in the process. Cause usually almost all the customers, I tell them before we even get to shirt styles or numbers or anything, it's like, let's do the design first. Like I feel like you have to have a design to be like, here's my design. This is how many shirts I want. This is what kind of shirts I want. So usually the design phase is the first thing. Like if they're like, I need them by this day, I usually put them on the schedule to at least like know that it's there. And then we'll work to that goal of getting it done. But I feel like it could go either way. Like you said, I feel like it could be a mix of both. Like have like one really awesome designer or two on staff, and then whatever I want them to work on, I can send to them. And then whatever I know is like way, like I'm paying them X amount and I know their worth, but somebody might come in with a design that's like way beneath them. I'd rather just farm that out to somebody who's like going to do it for me for like $35 than have somebody sit here and draw it for 4 hours when they're getting paid like $20 an hour. So I don't know. I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah. It definitely sounds nice to have someone, like you said, just like you said, like a mixture of both, someone to have that can do a quick like revise versus like sending it off again and waiting for it to come back. So
right. You can just go in and smack somebody in the back of the head and be like, hey, fucking get this done.
Yeah.
Which is what Andy does.
Cracks the whip.
He seems like a nice guy, but
Nah.
Camera's off.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, it used to be way more of an asshole. Like I was, I don't know what was wrong with me, but over the years, definitely have calmed down. And then this lava bracelet that I got in Sedona makes all the difference. Very, very calming. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't lose it anymore. So.
You take those like pink crystals and put them on your forehead every night for happiness.
That's right.
Seems right.
So what's it? Did you work this weekend, or what was up? Did you? How busy are you right now? Like,
Dylan?
No, you.
Yeah. You, Jonathan?
Dude, I work every day. Yeah. I was working. I work every day.
Every day, like literally every day.
On 100%, 8 days a week.
Well, you're at the shop now. It's fucking Sunday night.
No, yeah, but it's kind of like
house,
it's about.
My house is like 300 feet away, so I just walk. Over there. Yeah, I'm on the property, so it's like I don't know. Like I kind of feel a lot of times like, okay, maybe I won't work so much, but like, what else am I gonna do? Like just Netflix or something. I mean, I go out and play tennis lately, but I'm still hungry and I want to grow this thing. At least, I want to have like a full crew and stuff where it's not me always having to do it. So I'm still very much in that grind mode,
Yeah.
Or like where y'all were 3 years, when y'all first started in those early years.
We're in the same boat. I just had this conversation with Grizzly. I do the same thing. Like when I go home, print stuff is still my life. Like it's what I want to do anyway. So it's like these podcasts and stuff. It's like I didn't have to do a print related podcast, but fuck, it's like it's what I want to do. Is what I want to talk about. So yeah.
I think when you're on top of, so when I started out of the garage, when I went in for dinner or whatever, and to take a break, I knew that it was right back out. I literally could just open the door and walk back out to the garage and print some more or do whatever. Then I would find myself doing that. But since my shop is 20 minutes from here, where I live, I rarely go back at night. And I think that it was great to be able to go back out to the garage and do stuff and fuck around and improve on something or whatever. But it's also, it's really great to come home and leave it behind at some point, because come back fresh the next day. So, but I would say though, when I come home, maybe I'm not at the shop, but I'm doing other shit, maybe I'm kind of like what Dylan said, if you're not, maybe you're doing emails or you're writing something or you're, I take phone calls, I get texts, I'm always on the other end of the phone for sure, for certain customers. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I like being able to escape work though, and knowing that it's right there, or that it was right there in the garage. I was back out there a lot. Yeah. So I don't know.
The big thing I wanted to talk to you about was your shop build. Like, why did you decide to build something instead of rent something? And then why did you decide to go with a shipping container versus?
Yeah, we can go to the beginning.
Okay, good.
So like when I first started screen printing, this was, I don't know what year, but I was like 20 years old, and I first started selling. I just wanted to make some extra side like money on the side.
Right.
So my sister at the time was selling stuff on Etsy. You know Etsy, right? Like eBay. And she was selling a bunch of like garage sale stuff, like reselling stuff, and she was doing real good. And one day I came home, I was working retail and going to college, and I was like, man, I want to make some extra cash. And she was like, you should like sell t-shirts on Etsy. Like, she showed me some shops, and she pulled up some shops that were like really like doing a lot of work. And you could, at the time, I don't know if you still can now, but you can like go to a shop and see their sales and see what they sold. So yeah, it was like clear that, you know, like these shops were selling t-shirts, and I knew nothing about like printing at the time. Like, didn't even know the word screen print, nothing. So of course, like I guess Google, YouTube or something, came across like Ryan and all his videos, Ryan Moore. He made it look pretty easy. So I ordered like a bunch of stuff, or not a bunch of stuff, but like a press. It was like, I put like $1,100 on a credit card, and that was like in August. And I started selling stuff on Etsy, mainly Breaking Bad merch, because Breaking Bad was like so hot at the time. It was like awesome. So it was like a white t-shirt with like Walter White's face or Jesse Pinkman's face, like one screen, like with halftones. Just
how'd you know how to do that artwork for that?
That's a good question. It was so like Photoshop. I messed around with it all through high school, like even like it's probably like 3 years of just like messing around, having fun, because I actually like enjoyed it. So like I was familiar with like the halftones, like so how to achieve that. Making the screen, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error. It's been so long now, but yeah, as far as like making that artwork, I already was like in Photoshop just because I enjoyed doing that. I took like high school classes on Photoshop.
And that's half the battle anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think about that a lot now. Like people who are getting into the game now, I'm like, man, how do they do their artwork? Like, you know, like if they probably can't afford to get it like outsourced and really can. Like, I mean, that seems like it'd be real hard to like learn Photoshop, you know, right off the bat. Maybe not. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so like that was in August. Started doing all that by like that Christmas. Like I sold like a ton of Jesse Pinkman t-shirt faces, and it was like probably like 400 shirts at $20 a pop on there, and paid off like my equipment, had cash and PayPal, and like so that was like my first intro. And then like the following years, you know, like friends and family, church members, you know, I did shirts like that. So that's how I got into screen printing. So for years, I printed out of like my bedroom, like with Ryan at like 4-color one station. So they didn't even move. I would have to bring the flash over, like to flash like all my colors.
This was your bedroom, you said?
My bedroom, dude. It was like a 15 by 14 tiny bedroom.
At your parents' house or whose house?
Yeah, my parents' house.
So you just said, hey, like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to put this screen printing press in my bedroom.
It wasn't too much conversation with Mom, but Dad for sure. Like my dad, you know, like my dad helped me along the way for sure. Like, you know, we knocked made a big hole in the wall to put like the power outlet for the for my conveyor dryer. And I mean, he's always like, they've always been super supportive. Yeah, so I took like everything out of my bedroom, like my bed, dresser, like I don't even know where, and I slept on the couch in the living room for like three years in that house.
Dude, that's dedication right there.
Yeah, and looking back, I'm like, looking back for real though, I'm like, I don't even know like why I did that, or like.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be where you're at if you didn't.
No, I know, but I'm saying like I didn't even think about it. Like, why am I doing this? Like, I just did it. It's just
right.
I went to school, I went to work retail, and like I just had those jobs and I knocked them out. It was a lot of work, and there was no AC back there in that room. So when everything came on, you know, I was like sweating. I put my press on like this. I was like this metal piece that we had like in the I don't know, like in the garage, just like this random thing. I screwed the press to that. So, and I was looking at those pictures the other day. I posted on Instagram of my old press, And I was remembered like, oh shoot, I had a step stool because I'm like short. So I had a step stool every time, and I'd like print and like come down the step stool, like take the shirt off, put it, and like step up. I would step up to print every single time because that's how it was built. And like, I had totally forgot about that. So not only was I printing in the heat in that back room in Texas, like I was like doing a freaking Stairmaster doing it at the same time.
The shop,
like,
when you're at now, do you have AC, like climate control? And
oh yeah, I put like so like on this wall, like in the actual shipping container, there's like just like one of those window units that probably uses a lot of electricity, but like in the actual shop where the press sits, there's like a 2-ton mini split, like a real nice one that like is super energy efficient and stuff. So yeah, it's nice in there now. What was I gonna? So, oh yeah, okay. So my parents, like my whole life, they always wanted to live in the country and they always wanted their own like land and stuff. So that was always on their mind. And finally they just like made the decision like, okay, we need to like sell the house and move, like go find property. And they did. So, you know, I had all my equipment there. And so while they were looking at other places, like we were also looking for like some places that had a shop on it, or, you know, some kind of like something like where I put all my equipment and still stay printing. And this still isn't even like, I don't even know why. It's like, I wasn't even doing it full time. I was studying accounting in college. So that was still going to be like my career and stuff. But, you know, we still looked for a place. Anyway, they found this property. They had no extra shop, no extra space like that. But they found it. They liked it, good price, whatever. So it got to like a point like, okay, we really need to put my like equipment somewhere. Like, you know, in the bedrooms there were too small. So at one point, and they had 2 mortgages. They like bought the property and still had their old house. So They had 2 mortgages at the time. So we were living out in this property. I would commute back every day to go print in that bedroom. So it got to the point, it's like, okay, finally cleaned out all the old house. We need to move to this new house. And my dad had said at some point, like maybe a shipping container. I don't know where he saw that idea, honestly. And I remember thinking, there's no way, like my press probably won't even spin in there. My conveyor jar is not going to fit in there. It was like a small conveyor. And, but it got to the point where it's like, okay, we got to get all this stuff out. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I bought this used shipping container for like $2,800. It was just the metal box. And me and my dad went to town on it. It took us like 2 months though. And looking back, that was like a lot of work and we bought like, I think it was like an excuse also for my dad to buy all the tools he's ever wanted, because he bought like all the freaking tools. And it was like a great experience though. We framed it up, put the insulation up, put the panels up, put the electrical in ourselves. We didn't hook it up to the breaker box, but electrician did that.
Is your dad in construction or something?
No, he's real handy.
Dude, that's the same. That's the same with me. Like, dads are the best. Like, my dad, basically, I hired my dad almost full time last year, like just doing shit around the shop.
Yeah.
So like, he's always built all the rooms. He's like done a lot of like electrical and everything.
Yeah, like I always think about how much my dad has like helped me with.
Right. Yeah, that's huge.
Things that I think about it like that a lot too. It's like, man, other people, like, how do they? I just have a lot of respect for other people who don't have that help that we had.
Right.
Still get the job done. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I skipped over a part. So, you know, I was like going to college for accounting, and that was still going to be my career. And throughout the college years, I was like building a clientele, just not like even trying, just, you know, people knew, you know how it is, like word of mouth stuff.
Yeah.
So I actually had like a decent like client base, and I had a job at an accounting firm, and I worked as a runner for 2 years there. So I just ran errands for them. And when I graduated, then I got like a different position where I was actually doing taxes. And I had the freaking accounting degree, but man, during that like tax season, me and my friends, we goofed off so much, like a freaking like pranks, and just didn't work. We didn't work at all. Very, very unproductive. And so I got let go, but I didn't even see it coming because I was there for like 2 years.
You got let go.
Part of the and part of the deal of you being on this podcast today is that you're going to do Dylan and I's taxes this year.
if y'all want me to, we'll see how it goes.
But it sounds like but it sounds like you didn't do shit.
I didn't, man. I didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing your P&Ls to make sure I'm running my business correctly. For real. So I got let go, but they had I was like an intern, and they had like 6 interns, and like they chopped 3 of us, and that was kind of like a thing they did every year. They always would let go of interns, but I didn't think I was going to get let go because I would have been there already for 3 years. But I did, so I didn't see that coming at all. So I got let go, and like I said, I had clients by that time, but I still was I just studied 4 years of college. So I was very much in that mindset of accounting. So I started looking around for some accounting gigs, like other local firms. And like a month after getting laid off, I guess I was talking to my dad one day, and he was like, "Why don't you do t-shirts full time? Just try it, give it your best shot, whatever." So I was like, "Okay." So 2016 was the first year, and I remember going deep, heavy into podcasts, into audiobooks, really just trying to learn business, and it got me so jacked up. And ever since then, I've just been filling my mind with all that stuff. And I think that helps. Even now, when things get slow, just constantly listening to all that stuff, it really gets you, just keeps you in that mode, of growing.
Yeah, just listen to Gary Vee for 4 hours straight, and then fucking go kill it.
Yeah. So basically, just listen to Gary Vee, and then you're successful. So that's it.
That's all it takes, really.
Yeah. But I mean, so that was the story. And then even coming into this container though, I still only had that 4-color freaking press with no stations, just that one station. And I did that for I think a year and a half with that little press, which was rough. Then I upgraded. Then I got this one big job that was big at the time for me. It was 2,500 shirts, 2-color or 1-color front and back with the underbase. And I wasn't gonna, knock that out on my. Well, honestly, I should have outsourced it, but I wasn't gonna knock that out on that one press. So I bought a new press. It was a manual, a 4-color 6-station. Knocked out that job. That time of my life is going to be ingrained in my mind forever.
How were your hands? How were your hands after that?
Dude, I think about that often. It's it was, I had my dad help me. I had my friends randomly come in, help me print. And looking back, I don't know why I did that. I could just got it done in one day at another shop, but didn't think about it at all. I was I think I was thinking about the money. I was and that one job did pay off that press. It was a Rhinet Junior press. And I printed on that press for I guess 2 years. And then I had another big job, 2018. It was 600 shirts front and back. And I had actual other jobs and I wasn't going to be able to get that job done. They needed it inside of a week. So I'm getting to how I got an auto. So that 600 freaking shirts, and they needed it inside of a week. It wasn't going to I couldn't do it manually. So I called up a shop in San Antonio, AC, I might follow him, or ASG Screen Printing in San Antonio. Anyway, I asked him if he could help me. I told him I'll bring him the shirts, everything, and he helped me. And I went up there to go print with him, and man, I was freaking standing there just loading shirts. It was the easiest. It was blew my mind. I was I remember he came in to check on me, and he was like, "How are things going?" And I was like, "Dude, I could do this for the rest of my life." It was coming from years and years of manual printing.
Right.
I'm not even a big guy, so manual printing was a full body, all my freaking 115 pounds coming on that squeegee. It was a big deal for me. It was real hard. So after that, I was I got 100% have to get an auto. That was September. October, there's the ISS show in Fort Worth. So I started looking at some presses there, or started talking to the workhorse, because he had a workhorse at the time. And we were talking, and they were going to give me a show deal and stuff like that. But ultimately, all the shops I follow, you guys, I talked to everybody, and I was all right, I'm going to go M&R, because it was all the shops that I look up to and follow, that's all y'all are printing on. So I was I'm gonna go that route.
I think I remember you reaching out that when you were making that decision, you didn't sign the contract on that yet. Did you?
No.
And I asked you to. I think I said, "Oh, you know what? Who you should talk to because he's got one of each."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like, you need to talk to Dylan. He has a workhorse and an M&R. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And so I talked to Dylan, and he was like, "Yeah, should have got 2 M&Rs or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, that was it." So I talked to my like sales rep who's already like on my case, and
you have Barger, don't you?
Yeah, Barger. Yeah, and I remember like at the time, like what? Let me see. What I'm trying to think of what I did revenue wise that year, like before, like or that. I think that year I did like I don't know, it wasn't much, like maybe $70K that year, and I remember thinking like, holy crap, like they're gonna let me like finance this. And that's like, I just thought that alone, like I didn't think I would ever even be able to get the financing. I don't know why they did. And I didn't even have work to fill up that like auto. So I still think about that. I'm like, that was just crazy that they like finance me that auto, and it ended up working. It ended up playing out because like that next year, freaking like 2019, freaking killed it. And it would have like, it could have been the opposite way. You know what I mean? Like I could have got that auto and just been sitting on it. And
but you
ended up
you have that drive though.
That's what I had the conversation with my old man like a lot before I went into it. I was like, man, like I'm doing this full time already. Like, let me do it right. You know what I mean? And let me just, I'm going to, go all in. I'm going to take a bet like on myself is what I remember telling myself. Like, and it played out. It ended up playing out real nice. So I'm so happy I did it.
Yeah. I had that similar experience getting the lease for a loan for my first press. I went into the bank and I filled out the application. It was like a local bank that where our checking account was. And I said, hey, I need this, got to get this press and I need a loan. And he's like, okay, well, fill out this thing or whatever. And I did. And then I left. And then I got a phone call and he said, hey, you want to come in and, sign for everything? And I'm like, okay. I went in and I swear I thought like he checked the wrong box or something. Like, how did this even happen?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, good to go. I got in there and he goes, how's the kid? Made some small talk and boom, I was done. So I lucked out because I thought the same thing. Like, why would they ever give me a loan? I have a couple years tax returns. I'm out of my garage actually at the time.
Yeah.
Like, how can I get a loan for this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
But I did it.
Did you have the work to fill it up? Like the auto, like were you actually at that point where you're like, I got to make the jump?
Yeah, I think every time we've bought a piece of equipment, it's been because, it's just too painful. Like whatever we're doing, there's a bottleneck and we need to fix something, and you can hire people to help with that. I guess, we could have hired a bunch of people and gotten a bunch of manuals, but I didn't want to do that at the time. I thought this is the route, because without an automatic, your shop completely changes when you get your first auto. It just does, because you can now bid on, thousands of shirts. Like that order you talked about, that 2,500 shirt order.
You could do that before lunch.
Yeah, I mean, it changes everything, right? And it doesn't matter if it's one color or 4 colors or 6 colors, because it all prints the same time. So a 4-color job on a manual, it would kill you if you had to do, 2,500.
And I did that, and I did it did kill me. It was rough. Yeah, I remember the first time I got the auto, and I was like, one of my first jobs with the auto was like a 7-color, and my press is 8 colors. So I remember setting it all up. It was like the design don't matter, but it was like a 7-color. And I remember like just seeing all like the arms just all move at the same freaking time. And it freaking blew my mind. And obviously I had seen them like on Instagram and on YouTube and everything, but like to see it and print my job. Turns out that job had a freaking typo, and I printed a ton of freaking shirts with a typo. Oh yeah. And it's January. It was in January. So you can imagine like how slow January is sometimes. Yeah, dude.
Was the typo your fault or their fault?
Dude, it's always my fault. Well, they proofed it, but dude, I don't freaking know how to spell. I've had some typos in the past, but I'm pretty good on it now. But
when I was at Terminus, it was like I was just a sales guy there, and it was one of those things like some customer came in and I think they wanted like 600 shirts, but I think it was like a 6-color front, like a 4-color back, and they wanted a 1-color sleeve. And I set up the artwork or they had the artwork for the front and back, but the thing that they wanted on the sleeve was like the established date, and they didn't have artwork for that. So we're like, hey, can you like put the established date on? I was like, yeah, cool. So like when I did the art, I made the established date, printed all the shirts, like all the fronts, all the back, all that work to get it done. And then like I totally had a brain fart when I made the established date, and I made it the current year, not like the year he established. And it was like big enough where like you can't blow that out. So it was like 600 shirts, front, back, and sleeve all had to be reprinted. And like the owners came in and talked to me. They're like, hey, yeah, maybe don't do that again. And it was one of those where you're just like, fuck, like I'm such an asshole.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, well, the thing about these shirts that I did that one type on in January, they were the freaking Bella canvas, like the speckled ones, like with the nice, the dots. So the shirts were freaking like $5 something each. They were super expensive.
Yeah.
And it was in January. So yeah, I remember like wanting to throw up when I saw that. But the auto, man, yeah, it was awesome.
That's the thing about...
well, the auto made it faster for you to reprint them.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I had other jobs, and my dad had to go to like drive to Dallas, like 5 hours away, pick up the shirts and bring them because it was like a quick turnaround like that. So yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. Like I would have never been able to done that with the out and auto.
That's the thing about big jobs that people don't, realize necessarily, or even the customer does, because they think, hey, I've got 1,000 shirts or 5,000 shirts or 10,000 shirts, shouldn't I get a better price? But actually, I think after 5,000, the job gets even harder, because there's managing it. There's all of this, the logistics of it. You've got to, let's say if you have a 10,000 shirt order, first you just got to buy the shirts. You got to get them in your, on your dock and in your shop, and then count them in. You have to devote somebody or two people if it needs to get done fast, and then you print them. And we always do, when we have an order that large, we always do a physical sample. So we don't just do a digital proof. We actually print the shirt and show them the shirt that has, the final sample. And so there's that, because then we have to set it back up. And then there's just the whole process of it. And it's just scary, like if something goes wrong, or if you don't, let's say you run out of a color, because, I'm known to overbuy ink. Like, hey, you got PMS, whatever on that, get 5 gallons. And we only use like 2, and so now we've got 3 gallons of whatever the fuck color for like the next 10 years, because I don't want to run out of that color, and so.
Worse is when we have it a couple times a year where we have this company, this like lumber yard that orders hoodies, and they always order like 3,000-4,000 hoodies. Jeez. And it's like, you don't realize how many hoodies, like you see 1,000 tees, you're like, okay, that's like a skid and a half.
Oh, right.
But a hoodie is like every 25 hoodies is a box. So it's like, dude, that's a lot of fucking boxes.
There's no freaking room. That's so it's like, that's my container.
That's the hard part, is like, we'll put 2 skids on one side of the dryer because there's 2 presses. So we'll put 2 skids, do all the fronts, do all the backs, ship those 2 skids, bring 2 more skids over from the other side, do front and back, ship those out. And it's like, it's just the logistics. It's just the hard part. And it's like, you don't think about that when you take the order. You're like, oh yeah, we'll do it. But the other thing too, like Andy was saying, is like, customers don't realize they could have 1,000 shirts and they're like, okay, it's just 1,000 shirts. But what if it's front and back and sleeve? That's really 3,000 shirts, because in a printer's mind, because he has to print them 3 times. So it's like the logistics of like, all right, what do? Do you just stack up all the shirts after the front and then take those and do the back? Or do you do,
I'm sure you do now though with your 2 presses. Like we'll run fronts on one press and backs on the other.
Yeah, we've done that before.
If it's sleeve, then that's an issue. Now we have 3 and we can pull that off. But before, on those quick turns like we used to do during a playoff or something like that, if they ever stuck a 3rd location, I would be like, no, don't, no, that's the worst you can possibly do, because, now all of a sudden, what do we do with that 3rd location? And so it's just 2 locations is huge.
I feel like it's always the colleges or whatever that call you after the order's placed, and they're like, how much more is it to add a sleeve? And I'm like, I'll actually give you a discount if you don't do a sleeve.
I know. They're the worst. You got to change palettes and all this shit. Like
I said, the thing is, you'll think about is like, if you have that many shirts and you have to do multiple locations, it's like, all right, do I stack them, or do I do it by box, where like they print a whole box, fold the box, put it back in, and stack the boxes back up on a skid. And then when they're ready to do the backs, take those out of the box again, do the other side. And it's like, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize in the cost. They think, okay, I'm getting 10,000 shirts. the cost should be way cheaper than if I got 100 shirts. And it's like, it is definitely cheaper, but it's not that much cheaper because there's so much more man hours and like just moving shit around.
So like we do so many sleeves, and yeah, every freaking time I'm like, God dang, like it's rough because like they're so small. You gotta get the details right. No, sleeves are rough, but I don't know. I'm always like yes to the customers. So I don't know, like probably doing it more and more and more, like you get better at it. So
no. Dude, sleeves suck. Like we definitely do sleeves. We do a lot of sleeves, but that's like one thing I've been really working on a lot is like, and I've been working a lot back and forth with like Action Engineering on like figuring out a really good sleeve, because on the M&R, like before, if you had a single sleeve palette, you would have to stretch it over the arm. So like with these like Bella Canvas extra smalls, even mediums, sometimes it's like I feel like you're stretching the sleeve to put it on. So it's like Action came out with that hinge palette, and then now they have that new one where it's like the extra strong like dual palette, and we just got that from them, so we're gonna try that out. But it's just one of those things, like you want to make sure, like you could always do it on the single palette and be like, yeah, this is fine, we can get away with it. But I don't want to get away with it. Like I want to make sure that the print is perfectly smooth, nothing stretched out. Like that kid's not going to wear his small long sleeve and one looks like super hulked out because he got stretched out, and the other one's like normal. It's like,
yeah, and now you get to buy 16 pallets,
right? Yeah.
For your Gauntlet 3.
Fucking,
that's not much money.
And yeah, it's only like like $5,000, $6,000.
I saw Action's coming out. They're really working hard on this different mask palettes.
Yeah. Dude, they came out with those fast. Like I was impressed. I'm like, I mean, the whole mask thing happened and a lot of people were making masks, but you got to think like the engineering of being like figuring all that out and coming out with a product that fast to be like, hey, here's these like custom palettes that print masks.
Mm-hmm. Have you done a lot of masks, Jonathan?
I've done zero, man.
Yeah, me too.
Do it, but I'm not like, I don't know. There's like, I feel like I need to, for sure. But then I'm like, on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know.
It's an ethical thing too.
Is it?
For me, it is. Like, I mean, I feel like you can print masks and it is what it is, but I kind of feel like in the back of my mind, I'm kind of weirded out about like selling things that people are like buying because they're scared. But it's also like a lot of states now are requiring masks to like go in places and everything. So I feel like that's the only thing for me that's saving them, is to be like, all right, I guess like if you have to buy a mask, but I feel like it was too quick for so many companies to be like, hey, you can buy masks from me and you can like fully decorate them and all this stuff. And it's like, I get that you're slow and you want to sell masks to like make money, but to me, it's kind of weird. I don't know. It is what it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the ones that I freaking like a lot that look good that I think like I would want to put out. I mean, not that I'm doing anything anyway, but the ones that really look good are the ones that have been like dye sublimated. I think those like actually look really sharp with an actual like sewn together. So I don't know. I still kind of want to look into it, but I don't know.
Have you had any customers ask for some, like reach out and say, hey, can you have two?
Two, yeah. But I don't have like the kind of customers I have, but yeah, I've had a couple.
I actually had a customer that we're probably going to end up doing them for. It's like one of our really good customers, but again, it's that reason where they're like, we're obligated by law to like provide masks for our employees. Well, face coverings. So I was like, originally I told him no. I was like, I don't really want to do these. But then he kind of was like, please. And I was like, fuck. All right. Like just for you though. But like I agree with you. Like I feel like the ones that actually look good that like would be really good are the ones where people are like marrowing the edges, putting on bands. Like, but I feel like a lot of those you need those action palettes to like do them correctly.
Yeah, we'll see. I've got it was LAT, I think. I've got some on the way next week to print for a customer. The ones we printed already were for it was a contract job, and it was the Bella Canvas ones, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But those are really easy. You just put those right on your palette. You didn't need a special palette for those.
That's definitely the bonus to that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what are you working on, Jonathan, right now? Are you like pushing any new marketing, anything? just to get your regular sales back up, or?
No, I'm definitely not putting anything out, but I am creating stuff like you know, like when you're scrolling on Instagram, like ad hits you, like some of those ads like actually like stop you, like because they're good ads.
Right.
So I have like a folder that I save like all my ads that caught my eye and try to recreate later. So whether it's like a video or, you know, the ones that really work are like the videos that like have like a border coming in or a white border coming out or something. So I've been looking at those like posts and I have like a ton of freaking posts that I saved. So I've been recreating some of those for Success Print Shop.
And you'll put money on that, you mean, in Instagram? So you're going to do sponsored?
Eventually, but no, also just for some formal posts.
Okay.
On the other side of all this, I'll have like a bunch of like, I guess, marketing material that I can start putting out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I kind of do that too. Like, I just go through like Instagram or anything really. Anytime I'm looking at anything, I'm always looking on my phone, and anytime I find something cool that like gives me some inspiration, I always screenshot it instead of rather just being like, oh, I'll remember that later. I always screenshot it and then email it to myself. And then on my desktop, I have like a stuff to do folder, and it's just like nothing but like inspiration for like shit to make later.
I'll try to pull up. You know, you can bookmark stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have like my bookmark things, and I have like a whole like marketing to dos, and it's just like posts that I thought that looked real sharp, came out real cool. Like this Kanye one, like that's cool. Like it's like all blacked out. You know what I mean? He's just faded in there. I mean that catches your eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a picture of you, just like that.
Yeah. I think they'll sell.
I'd buy it.
Coffee, you gotta save the coffee ones if they look good. But you know what I mean?
Dylan's thing is tea. I think he drinks like a 5-gallon of tea.
Yeah.
For breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I drink a shitload of unsweetened iced tea. The funny thing is today I like mowed my lawn and I like was cleaning my garage, and I always have like Wegmans makes like a black iced tea bottle, and I usually have like a shitload of them all over the place. Well, I was in the garage cleaning and I ended up grabbing one that I thought was a current one, but it was probably like fucking 3 years old, like half drink. And I like opened it up and took a swig, and I was like, and luckily it didn't happen this time, but it's happened before too, where I did the same thing. But like, because it sat there for so long, there was like a thick film in the bottom that like slid into my mouth. And I never gagged so hard because it was just like this like algae thin, like slime that came out. So
that's gross. What's the brand of tea you drink that I need to look into?
I usually drink like I said, I drink the Wegmans one, but like my favorite iced tea is Dunkin' Donuts iced tea, just like unsweetened iced tea. But like I drink like the Pure Leaf ones, I think they are.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what the other one is. Basically anything that's just like an unsweetened, like natural iced tea, like no added anything, just like you literally fucking took water and dunked some leaves in it. But everybody around me, we always call it dirt water because everybody always wants sweet tea. And I don't want anything sweet. I just want like basically tea leaves and water.
Joanne drinks this yerba mate, or however the fuck you say it. I can't say it right. You know what it is?
No.
Sounds fancy.
I always said yerba mate, but it's not that at all. But it's something, and it has, it's kind of like drinking coffee. It has a lot of caffeine in it.
It's definitely way fancier sounding than yerba mate.
Yeah.
Dude, we went to Disney, and like we went to the what is it there? The Beauty and the Beast one where like they're kind of speaking French or whatever. Well, the dude at the door like works for Disney, and he was like, "Oh, bonjour," or whatever. And the dude in front of us was like super just like Southern, like didn't give a shit. And he was like, "Bonjour." And it's just like, that reminded me of your yerba mate. Like he's just like, no, this is what it is. Like, I don't care. Like no fancy, just fucking bonjour.
Andy, what are you drinking? Do you just drink coffee? You still drink coffee? I know you gave it up.
I did give it up for, I did a reset. So gave it up for like 30 days. And I think I was going to go longer, but I don't know what it was. And I just had some again.
I think
one day or whatever.
I think I know what it was.
Oh, I know what it was. Yeah. What was it?
The nitro cold brew.
Exactly. Yep. I just remembered. So I went and met a friend of mine for coffee, or just to talk to him, not for coffee, just say, hey, let's meet up. And I met him at Starbucks, and he got this nitro cold brew. I was like, what is that? And so I got one, and that was it. It was over. Which, by the way, I haven't had in a really long time because they're all closed by us. Starbucks is closed. I don't know if they're open now by you or.
I
said Starbucks is closed where we are. So I haven't had one forever.
Not even for drive-thru?
What's that? Oh, no. Yeah, not even for drive-thru.
No, yeah, we're open.
Ours is open, but I think it's like weird hours. Like me and we tried to go the other day, and it was like, I think they closed at like 4 p.m. I was like, that was really weird.
I was driving by today, and they said there was a sign outside that said coming soon. So I have a feeling they're going to reopen. So Missouri, tonight at midnight, our stay-at-home expires.
Really?
So, yeah, what are we? We're 3 hours away from it's open. Like it's not even, there's still social distancing and everything.
You still have to wear masks, right?
Not like not going around anywhere. I think maybe in grocery stores or something like that, but not in like.
I would be surprised if like New York opens this year. I feel like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's just so weird is that where you are in New York is so different than the boroughs or something. So how can it be the same? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Is yours like a partial open, like we're 25% capacity or something like that, or is it like?
Right. Yeah, I think it's something like that. But it used to be a max of 10 for us, and so we've been running like that. The past 2 weeks, there's been 10 people, but now we can have more. And so I called one person back on Thursday.
Nice.
And then also we've had some work at home. So tomorrow there's going to be 12 of us, but we have actually 14. There's going to be 2 work from homes and 12 at the shop tomorrow.
Dang.
So yeah, it feels good, to be able to, have a couple more people because we're just scraping by, it was tough. It was harder than really it's ever been because you have 10 people trying to do the work of more than that. And it's been stressing some people out. So
yeah,
we have to print. We're doing our support store on, I guess when the shirts come in on Monday morning. So we'll start probably in the afternoon and go through Tuesday because there's 74 setups. So it's all one color, which is good, but still.
Nice. That'll be fun, dude. That'll be good. Get everybody back in the groove of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
How do you think like your location affects your sales? Like, do you do a lot of local stuff, or you try to do like anything and everything online?
Who are you talking to?
Jonathan.
Oh man, I'm sorry for trying to add you. Yeah, no, most of it's local. Probably like 90, maybe 85, 90% of our stuff is local. So haven't done too much on sale, like outside of like the state or outside of town, I guess. But actually, Dylan, that's a question for you, dude. I think about you a lot because I know you're like in a small town, and like everything's online for you. And
yes,
your Instagram following is massive, and like that dude's like in the same like small town for like so I'm outside of my bigger town. So like the town I'm in is like 400 people, and then like the bigger town's like 100,000 people. So it's still pretty small. Like, how do you get all those people? I know you've been in business for.
He's a baller.
Yeah.
Those designs.
Yeah, there's like 1,000 people in my town. So if I at all tried to be like a local shop and do nothing but local, we wouldn't be I would be in like when you started in my bedroom. Like it wouldn't amount to anything. The problem is, well, not the problem is, but like the thing I got lucky with is when I started doing this industry at all was when Myspace first started. So I grew up business-wise with social media. Like I feel like MySpace was like social media started basically. Like you had friends, and the nice thing about back then is you could message anybody. So I was also in a band too, and it was kind of like if you wanted to contact another band or a venue or anybody to get a show or do anything, like you just send them a message. So like when I started selling shirts and everything, got rolling with that, it was the same mentality of like, I want to work with that guy. So you fucking send him a message.
I think the most important question is, what song did you have playing on your MySpace page when you landed there?
Dude, I don't even know if I ever did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a weird, dude.
He's like, you don't want to say it.
Dude, that's so long ago.
He's like, oh, I don't want to say it, but it was actually,
You don't want to say it like that.
Dude, it's probably my girl Celine Dion, if anything.
Nice.
Voice with Angel. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like it's always been that way. Like it's always been, just you hit people. You don't like not like a weirdo, like hitting people up being like, hey, want shirts? Hey, want shirts? It's kind of like find a niche that you're already into. For us, it was bands. Like we were in a band. So like we knew how to speak band. So it was like, hey, I print stuff, I can get it to you in this amount of time. I can drop ship it to the venue. So on. And then you build a relationship, and then that band tours with all these other bands, and they tell, it's the snowball, it's the virus of
for sure.
Word of mouth. And then eventually you get to the point where you're doing X amount of bands, and then you have a lot of work. And then eventually you do it all over again with another niche that you're interested in. You're like, okay, let's do carpentry. And then you just fucking snowball into that. And then that's what I feel like right now. We're kind of like, we have like 10 niches that we're all super into. So we hit those pretty hard. But like I said, it's never like intense cold calling or getting in people's faces. It's literally always like this, like we're talking. It's always a conversation.
I think that's what's so great about Instagram is because we do the same thing. So we'll message somebody and say, hey, really love your pizza. Would you be interested in some sort of collab? And it's as easy as that. You don't,
right.
If you're trying to sell them, then they know that and they recognize it, just like people try to sell us. But if you just say something as simple as love your stuff and we're interested in some sort of collab, I mean, usually we get a response and say, well, yeah, sure. What are you talking about? And so then we meet, we'll chat because,
right.
Yeah, it's never cold calling, like trying to close somebody, it's never that.
I don't feel like that method really works much anymore. I don't know if you guys ever found or like researched into this at all, but like the Dream 100, you ever hear that or do that?
That sounds familiar.
That's kind of like how I've always done it. And then I found like basically books and people talking about Dream 100 that was like, oh shit, that's kind of what I already do. But like they gave me more tips and information on how to do it. But basically, they say it's like Dream 100, but you basically come up with your like ideal or dream customers. And then the same thing, like it's people already, it's people that are into what you're into. And then you make that list and then, okay, like say you follow them on Instagram. Well, you don't fucking like follow them on Instagram and then hit follow and then immediately send them a message, be like, hey, I love what you do. It's like, dude, obviously they just saw you fucking follow them like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like follow them. If they have podcasts, listen to their podcasts, like take a couple months. Like it's not something that has to happen instantly, but like go through the motions. It's not even the motions. It's stuff that you like already.
You authentically like them.
You authentically like this person. You like their posts. So it's the same thing, like their post, if they have a thing, comment on it and whatever. And then eventually something might pop up where you see a post where they're like, hey, I'm looking to do a fundraiser, or, hey, I need new merch or whatever. And then that's your in. It's like you send them a message and you're like, hey, I really love what you do. I own a print shop and I would love to, work together with you. It's never like, hey, I'd love to print shirts. Do you want to buy shirts from me? Like Andy said, it's like, hey, do you want to collab on this? Like I would be all fucking about this because I love what you're about. I love the kind of design it's going to be. And so on. And then that's always the genuine answer. And they're always just like, hell yeah, let's work together. So I feel like that's how we've gotten so many things is we just kind of like hit up those people. And that's the thing too. It's always the rule of like, when you first start, you're like, you hit up 100 people, you might only hear back from like 20 people or 15 people. And you're kind of like, oh, why did I hit up that many people when I only got 10 responses? But those 10 responses turn into 10 more responses, which turn into 10 more responses.
Have you ever followed somebody and then, a month later you see they get shirts and you're like,
yeah,
fuck,
And that happened to me the other day too. And I was just kind of like, fuck, why didn't I mention them or say anything to them already? But it is what it is. You win.
So you comment on their shirt post and you say that shirt's garbage.
Yeah, I'm like, that's oh,
like, why is it so crooked?
Gross.
So crooked. Yeah, everything you just said, like literally, I did that specifically on a large job like last year. For like years and years, I've listened to. I don't know if y'all listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast. It's just about like real estate investing. And I just like listen to
real estate investing.
No. It's like they give you a lot of business tips aside from real estate.
Yeah.
I'm not in real estate at all, but I've listened to it for like years.
I can see your Bluetooth hanging out of your ear.
I gotta take this call. And anyway, they had like their first conference coming up, and they're like a big like podcast, and they had their first conference coming up here. So I reached out and said like I was like a long time listener or whatever. And I ended up like landing a 1,200 piece order like with them. And I just straight up did exactly what you said. Like I followed them, and they had this conference coming up. It was their first one. I reached out, like straight up emailed, and they're like, "Yeah, give us a quote," and played out. So yeah, everything you just said is like very, very accurate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You might find people that you kind of like in like television or whatever, and then you think like, I'm never going to have a chance to talk to this. They're never going to respond, and then it's that like you miss every chance you don't try to take kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's
already
like,
a no. Yeah.
Like you just send them a message, and if they get back to you, fucking awesome. Like there was one like we did probably a couple of years ago now, which is that this bar saves lives. Like that you probably see them in like Starbucks and stuff now, but like Kristen Bell owns that company. And same thing. I sent him a message and I was like, I think I had a bar one day at Starbucks or something. And I was like, oh, I really like this. And then I sent him a message and they like hit me right back like the next day, I think. And we're like, yeah, we want to get, what's the quote on this? And the best thing you can do is be like really quick to like get back to them. And it was like, they sent me a message and we're like, hey, we really want to get shirts, but we don't really know exactly what we want. And the first response I had was, yeah, I'll send you some samples. What's your address? So I picked a couple like Bella's, Next Levels, stuff that I knew was really good. Literally put it in a mailer, like ordered it that day, got it the next day, mailed it out, priority. They got it in 3 days from our conversation in like California from where I am. And they were like fucking blown away because they were like, you hit us up, you took care of our needs exactly, gave us actual physical samples to hold. And then you're now like ready, like, okay, here, what's the artwork? Here's the price. And you're like, okay, cool. I can have you on the schedule in a week.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like frictionless. Yeah. You
basically took care of all of their needs right then and there. You didn't have to wait for them to be like, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? You kind of, like you print, the steps, how it goes. Mm-hmm. So you should initiate that first. You should be like, what's your artwork? Oh, you don't have some? Let's figure that out for you. Okay, here's the brands I recommend. Because a lot of people are like, do you have a catalog? And it's like, I don't want to give you a fucking catalog because I don't want you to pick obscure items that I don't know anything about or how they print or if they bleed or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, hey, we've been doing this a long time. This one works really well. Let me send you some samples in your size. You don't have to send them back. Like if you like them, keep them, wear them. You can have that blank forever. I don't care. And then they're usually like, I love this. What colors does it come in? And then get their artwork, print it, and go. And then again, like not only did you just catch that big whale that you were trying to get, but now you made a good impression on them and they have a shitload of friends too. So now they, like with Instagram, it's nice because you're like, hey, when they get that shirt, they usually end up posting about it in stories or posting about it in a thing, not like necessarily like, hey, I got this shirt, Upstate did it. But even if they have a picture of like to show some of the shirts we did, like Kristen Bell had them on, and it was just kind of like they did a thing with like the bar, and like all I did was like take that photo, post it on my Instagram, and then people are like, oh, well, if they print for that company, they must do good work. Then you get more work,
almost,
and you just fucking keep going back and forth, and then eventually you end up working with all the niches you want to work with. I want to basically get to the point. I don't want to be that company that's like I have 35 autos and I have this. I just want to have the best equipment I can have in my space the most efficiently and do all the jobs I want to do. And then when the customer calls that's a pain in the ass, I can be like, yeah, I don't have time for that, or I don't want to do that. And then I'm just doing the shit I want to do.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much you're the size you want to be.
Right. I don't really want to be any bigger.
Jonathan, how about you?
Well, so I don't know. Like, I feel like, I mean, like right now in my mind, but I don't know because I don't know what I don't know. But I feel like I want to get as big as I can right now. Obviously, I'm only one auto, but I want to get big. But I might.
What define big? You mean like 5 presses, like, 10 presses?
No, well, yeah, okay, yeah, good question. Like probably like, yeah, but I mean maybe in the 3 press range, but like I'm talking like a kid. I don't know what the freak I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So it's so hard for me, right? Right now, I want to get big but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how big.
When I first started, I wanted to be the biggest shop in the country. I was like, I'm going to be the largest, number one. Like they used to publish, maybe they still do, but it's the top 100 or whatever. I want to be the number one shop. But then over time that changed and it was like, nah, I just want to be maybe 10 presses, and then 5. And then now, or even a few years ago, I was like, I'm cool with 2. I'll never have more than 2. And then last year I said, okay, we just need 1 more, because that would solve a lot of problems. That would, whenever we have that overflow, even if we don't turn that press on every day, that 3rd press, we could at least turn it on during those days that are just nuts. And
the key for that though is to be able to be like, it's paid for.
True.
Problem with the big shops that have like 20 autos is not only they're not all paid for, they owe on them. So when something like this Corona thing happens and they have fucking 300 employees and bills, it's super terrifying. And those shops go away quick because they can't pay the bills. But the other thing is too, is like, I know enough like big shop owners where I always ask them that question of like, when were you the happiest? And almost all of them are like, oh, back when we had like 2 or 3 autos. You know what I mean? Exactly. We had like 10 employees or 15 employees. And now they, like I said, they have like, oh, we have 200 employees. And it's like anything that happens or any lull in business, I feel like you would instantly go white in your hair because you're like, how the fuck am I going to come up with payroll?
Yeah. Well, plus the culture changes. And so the culture, when you have 10 or 15 or 20, 25, there's a certain culture, but then all of a sudden you have 200, 300 and everything changes. I mean, I've never had 200, 300, but I've been places like that. And you can just tell I lost control we were above 25 once, and I'm like, this is just too many people. And so how can we get it done with less, and I like where we were at 6 weeks ago. That was a good number, but now with, there's 14, with plans on bringing, almost, I guess, everybody back. So it just, who knows when, right? So how do you,
I feel like every shop is different and you're going to have your own needs and you're going to have your own thing. Like if you end up with 5, 6 autos like you want, you might have perfectly good reason and you might have great employees and it works out for you. So I feel like there's no magic number. There's no like, I'm right because I say I want to have my shop the size I want it. It's how does it work for you? It's the same reason why. Yeah,
I would say that's accurate.
Yeah. I feel like it's the same thing with people with like shop management software or something. And it's like, oh, this one's definitely the best one on the market, whatever. It's like, it's totally different from one guy to the next guy. It's like, how do you flow this? How do you normally do this day to day? And it's like, I feel like there's no right answer. It's just kind of like whatever works for you. Yeah.
And I've heard a lot like from other shops, and like I also listen to like the other industry podcasts, and yeah, so like you said, everybody has like their own whatever they want, and so I'm just like, we'll see how big it gets, but I'm not. There's no like you said, there's no like magic number, so we'll see how big it gets, or how small it stays.
There's somebody right down the road from you that has this like one of the biggest shops in Texas, right?
Yeah.
I heard he does.
Andy.
Yeah, they do like 1,500 screens a day or something.
A day, yeah.
Insane like that.
Like 2 auto reclaims and yeah, I think they got like 12 presses. I think they just got 12. Yeah. I mean,
that's scary for me.
Same here. Yeah, I guess you're exactly right. It's just what makes you happy. Do you want to be a manual, in a shop and put out that kind of work, or do you want 1 auto, 2 autos, or 10? And so, sometimes you don't know until you do it. You may have 10 autos and you're like, fuck this, and so you downsize. Who knows? So,
well, one of those things too is some of those shops, they grow so big because they get 1 or 2 really big accounts. They might be like, oh, we work for Nike now. And they add like fucking 5 autos and like all these employees. And then one day Nike's like, I don't like you. And they just don't work with you anymore. Then what do you do with all those presses and all those employees?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why for me, I had this conversation the other day with Grizzly, but I don't think it ended up making it on the podcast, was kind of like, because of the fact that I'm not local and I kind of deal with everything all over the place, is like, if I accidentally like fuck something up or have a bad customer, it doesn't screw me in my area. You know what I mean? Like, I just keep dipping all over the place. Like,
with your reputation.
Right. I mean, like, we always try to fix everything and do everything the right way. I'm just saying that, like, locally, if I was just doing local and some big business locally came in and ordered something, and, you know, sometimes there's just people you can't please, or something bad happens and it's just, you know, whatever. But like, I feel like that guy could spread bad news throughout the town so easily and like drop your business. And I feel like for me, I'm kind of proof from that. Like, I don't have, like, if somebody has something bad in that area, it's like, I still have the rest of the fucking country. Like, I can move around. So that's kind of why I was asking about, are you local or are you all over the place or whatever? You get people and say, like, for me, like, all the way across the United States, that's like, well, I can go to some guy local. Well, I can be like, well, I'll absorb the shipping cost. So I'm actually closer than that guy because my box will arrive on your doorstep and you have to go pick your order up from that guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that whole distance thing doesn't matter anymore. It's kind of like,
went out the window.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can't argue with me that I'm not near you when I'll have the same, if not better, turnaround than somebody else, and I can have it delivered right to your door. Yeah. So that's kind of.
You were asking when we first started. You asked me about like not getting a building with rent and stuff, and I've thought about it a lot lately. Like, if I eventually do want to go into the town, but I think I made a decision. I don't think I really need to.
I wouldn't.
I mean, yeah. There's like, I don't know if the foot traffic would be enough to like make up for the rent. You know what I mean? Like,
it won't be.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna definitely stay out here and just keep building on the property. But
right, it's like where I am is there's actually like a bunch of bigger cities around me, and people are always like, "Oh, you should get an office in the city or whatever," and it's like, why? Like, I have enough of a reputation now that I can kind of go anywhere and ship anywhere, and I own my building; it's paid for. Like, why add rent? And then you're fighting to make enough profit to cover that rent plus make money. And it's like,
I think that I think what makes sense is if you're just starting out, the idea of if you're going to start in the town where you have that exposure, because it'll accelerate your growth. I think that if you are far enough into it, like you guys are now, the answer is probably just to stay where you are. Because just like Dylan said, you know, he's built up this base and this reputation that it's just sort of this word of mouth thing already, that he doesn't need that exposure. You know, we have exposure at our location. So
you're definitely the expert on that, way more than I am, because you're in the city dealing with local.
Yeah, but I don't know your guys. I don't know what it's like to be in a small town, you know, and so. But I can imagine if I had to choose now.
Just play some John Mellencamp, small town.
Right. I just think that if it's more of where are you going to start? Like, if you've already started and you already have the work, then it's going to be hard to justify saying, "Oh, I'm going to move my whole business, you know, to this location in the city, pay rent." You know, it just doesn't make sense for you anymore. Whereas initially, really, there was no choice. There's no small area around here. You know, you just kind of open up shop. But I mean, I guess there's locations that don't have the exposure.
Yeah.
But when we started, and I went back and forth. We were going to move maybe 3 years ago or expand, and I decided to stay. We were so rooted in, you know, when we had everything there, we were established. People knew we were, and the idea of moving, I hated that idea. So. I don't know. Yeah, that's we get a lot of work because of we're visible though. So I hate.
Did you say you're like on a highway or freeway or something like that? Gets a lot of traffic.
Not a highway, but we're on a road that gets. Before I signed the lease, when I was looking at spots, I sat out front of the shop that we're at now, and I counted cars. And so
You would.
I did. I wanted to know how many cars, because I want to know the daily car count, and I took it and I said, okay, well, there's this many in a minute, or then I would watch for half hours, and I eventually just watched for a whole hour. And I tried to figure out, well, what are is it busier at 9 a.m. or 12 or 5 or what? And so, that exposure is a big deal for us, for our type of work.
The big question is, do you have like those car dealership blow up guys that like wave their hands up in the air out front?
I need those, right?
That's a
now,
dude.
Yeah, for sure. But like it's, I don't know. It's weird now though. Everything's potentially could change, as far as people come in the shop, and people have been still. We just, we have curbside pickup. So I don't know, you're talking about shipping everything. That's what we changed to. We made this, first we were just setting boxes out on the curb, and then every once in a while there'd be a bag. We would just, like set a bag out on the curb because people were like,
through the window.
Right. It was weird. But then we're like, well, wait, there's a bag sitting out on our front parking lot. This doesn't make sense. And so we made this cart that had put a sign on it. So
nice.
It looks normal.
People driving by, throwing their cash out the window, like throwing the boxes in the window.
Yeah, I hate it. Like I hate people call and they're like, hey, so are you guys open? And I start to go into my spiel, but I hate saying that. I hated saying that. No, actually we're not, you can't come into our shop. And never in my wildest dreams would I ever imagine telling somebody that, no, you can't come here and place an order,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I got one last question for you.
Yeah, man, I'm good.
You were talking earlier about like social media things that you like to save and look up to and everything else. Do you have any for people listening, like things that show you inspiration that's not necessarily screen printing, or even screen printers that are kind of like things you like to look for?
Don't even say casinos, because then all of a sudden you're laundering money. You've got real estate, you've got the shop.
Dude, I'm just waiting for the drug cartel to come up to me and be like, hey, let's launder money. So I could just stop. Like some cool shops, like now that I'm seeing some stuff here. And like screen printing related, like Uber Prints, y'all follow them or no? They take some cool photos. I like their stuff.
Dude, speaking of good photos, check out Apparel Graphics. I feel like they always take the crazy good photos. There's a couple shops that I find inspiration from as far as like printing wise, but there's definitely certain shops that have like specifics in like the way they take photos or the way they take video. Like Andy's really good about like taking specific styles of video. You take very specific styles of video. I feel like with your kind of camera movements and stuff. I'm
inspired by Andy. And you too. You put some good stuff too out for sure.
Yeah, but I'm not doing fucking crazy aerobatic moves when I'm taking video of my press.
Did you have a drone or something down there?
Oh, once I put it above and then I freaking slammed it into my little 10-foot ceiling. I was like, I'll never get freaking chopped up the foam and stuff. But
it's like Juan at Squeegee Prints. He's been riding a skateboard around.
Oh, is that how he does that?
Yeah, he rides a skateboard around the press and takes a video. Cool.
Like we met that guy, or I met him like at Long Beach, but like now that like I know him and like I follow him a little more, like man, that guy is so cool. He's freaking always like strumming it up on his guitar or whatever it is, and like skating every chance it looks like he gets.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we went to the SNS preview in San Diego, and we were on the plane or something, and I posted something in the story, and he's like, "Hey, stop by, man." And so I replied back, said, "Okay, I'll be there in like whatever, a couple hours." So Joanne and I got a Uber, and we showed up at his shop and hung out for like 3 hours or something. And now we could talk almost, I don't know, every week or two. Yeah, love his shop though. Have you been there?
I've never been there, no.
I feel like that's the best part for me about like Instagram and stuff is like, what other industries do you get where you can do this? I feel like it's not the same for everybody. Like there's definitely certain industries that all talk to each other and hang out. But I feel like for us, it's like, we're all the same dudes kind of that just like, when we get together, it's just like, you know, like you're that dog that's just like, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool for sure.
But hey, dude, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Was this episode 1, or y'all had some more already?
Well, we're doing you first, but we'll probably put yours like a couple years down the road.
Yeah. But just wait. You'll see it.
We'll find some other people that we think are better. We'll put before you.
Yeah,
and then
it's gonna be a lot of that.
You'll have 10 presses then.
Yeah. Hit me up when I got the 3rd press coming in.
You're making me laugh. My monitor's shaking.
Wait, we can cut it off here. We can cut it off here if we need to.